Happy Thursday.
Yeah, buddy. What
So
what a Wednesday it was.
right, what another good Wednesday episode of What If? Of course, the promos were despicable because they lied to us. I thought this was the episode with Thor again.
Yeah, well, I tried to not get Russo brothered again. So
I mean, they didn't even have this promo up. It was just, I don't know. Anyway, so welcome to our channel. We basically just kind of sit here and we talk shit. Usually about Marvel or other sci-fi, fantasy, or just the TV shows or movies that interest us. And so today we're gonna get into What If episode 6, which is what if Eric Killmonger saved Tony instead of Tony saving Tony. So, Dad, do you want to start and just kind of give like some chatter about how you felt about the episode?
Yeah, I thought this was an exceptionally well done episode that truly twisted on what we know from the MCU and the relationship with Killmonger and Black Panther. And I love how they twisted it and put him with Tony Stark. And then by the time you get to the end, they twist it yet again.
Mm-hmm.
And boy, some of those twists I did not see coming.
No.
Yeah, I was reminded how easy it is to bring fear, anger, and evil that we all have hidden deep down under the surface against others. This episode was an example of what happened, of that happening between Wakanda and the rest of the world, specifically America.
Yeah, no, it was, I guess for me, I felt like it was a great episode. I really felt like I kept thinking that he was just gonna get caught. Like every time there was a little mishap, I was like, yo, he's about to get caught. And then he did it. I mean, not until the very end, but like even when Tony busted him, I was like, yo,
well,
it's done.
That was a whole nother bunch of fucking up.
Right. So I think I just thought that he was gonna get caught a bunch, and then every time he did, and I was like, God damn it. I would love if there is a part 2 to figure out how Shuri and Pepper work together to expose him, because each side is like so buried in hatred that they can't see anything. I also felt like I missed the Jabari. Like I just, because they love a good fight. And I feel like they probably would have really enjoyed taking all those robots down. I also think M'Baku would have seen right through Killmonger in like a second.
And he'd have blown old girl's M'Baku out. So
Back out.
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it was a good episode, but we'll get into it, in more detail. So, let's go ahead and get on into it. That's my dad.
And that's my kid. And we are
Comic and Other Cons.
Hot damn.
All right. So we'll start at the beginning of the episode. So basically we were back in the area of Afghanistan that we see Tony in the first Iron Man movie, when he is in the Jeep with the soldiers, and they're going out to whatever location they were, heading to for whatever mission or whatnot. And basically the same first few scenes of Iron Man happens. Tony's taking the pictures, no gang signs, just kidding, throw them up. And and this time, after unfortunately all of the soldiers get killed, instead of Tony being captured, he's actually saved by Eric Killmonger. Yeah, no, we don't, I mean, he just kind of came out of nowhere, like legit. I don't I don't understand.
There'll be a callback to that later.
Right. So basically, after he saves them, they have a press conference, and the press conference basically reveals everything. Tony's still cracking jokes, talking shit, and then Killmonger gets, or then the question gets asked in terms of like what happened. And that's when a few very interesting points were brought up. And I know, Dad, you caught one of them almost immediately with the reporter.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate that they showed some love to both Shang-Chi and back to Iron Man 3 by mentioning the 10 rings. When Killmonger rescues Stark, he said, "Hey, we got to get out of here because the 10 rings will be back. They'll be on us, so we got to get out of here." So that was, you know, Marvel. They're gonna make that money.
Right. No, they are.
But I did appreciate that again. Christine Everhart is back in this as the reporter because they keep giving her love, and she brings up like the best questions immediately. I mean, at the press conference, I go, wow. And they all kind of glanced over that, but Killmonger was prepared. He was prepared for everything. Although they still kind of skipped over her just a little bit, but he was prepared.
Give that woman a Pulitzer.
So, I mean, hey, I can appreciate that she's one of the original talents who came back to give the voice acting some love. So I got nothing but good things to say about her. So.
Right.
And on a slight side note, so far, I know some people I saw that they didn't like the people who were doing the voice acting for the people who didn't actually come back to do their characters. Well, I thought that was wrong. Don't beat up on the people who are doing the thing because the original people didn't. How about let's find out why the original people didn't come back.
Right.
And hey, those people were doing their job. I thought the woman who did Pepper Potts did a pretty good job. In fact, a really good job. I didn't have any problems with anybody's voice acting, but I know a lot of people they didn't like Pepper Potts' voice acting, and I had absolutely zero problems with it.
So you brought up when we were chatting before the question that Christine asked, which consisted of well, how convenient it was that you were there, like
when your squad was like 10 clicks away.
Right. Like you were just,
what were you doing?
Happened to be there. And Killmonger with the beautiful answer came out and said, "Oh yeah, I picked up intel from the 10 rings that so-and-so was, you know, they were putting an attack out or a hit out on Tony, and that it was by Obadiah."
Now I appreciate that they didn't make Killmonger too black by making him go, well, what had happened was. So I appreciate that they didn't do that. Although that really would have been funny as shit. I would have laughed if he had said, well, what had happened was, but I think they wanted to keep it on the serious role that it was on.
Right.
And it just kept getting more serious. Go ahead, kid.
Right. So in the same vein, Obadiah Stane was still out to try to kill Tony. It just was in a different way that he got revealed this time, whereas before it was kind of revealed later on in the MCU, or not in the MCU, but in the movie, as it were. So now that we all know what happened, Obadiah gets taken away. Eric Killmonger is now made Chief Security Officer. Sorry, Happy, there is no promotion. Happy's not getting laid. Happy's not getting a promotion.
What kind of world we living in where now the black man is taking away the job from the white man?
I mean, what if? You know what I'm
saying? And it would have been nice if he could have walked past Happy on the way out and did like that. That would have been a nice call.
Or walk past Happy and did this.
Yes. Either one of those would have been good. That would have been perfect.
Yeah. So.
Poor Happy.
After all that, you know, we have a little after party because Tony is still a party animal and still drinking heavily. So they're at this party and they're chit-chatting, and they decide that he gets another promotion, and becomes chief operating officer, which is, it's just interesting how we came to that conclusion over drinks at a bar. And Pepper's very suspicious because she's like, everybody that meets Tony has an agenda, but they couldn't figure out what his was, and that made it worse, because at least with other people, if she figured out what the agenda was, like, she could at least call you on your shit. But she couldn't figure out what his was, and that's what was troubling her more. She was like, I don't know what it is.
Well, and she also said that she couldn't find anything wrong with him.
Other than
like he was squeaky clean, and like nobody's really squeaky clean, but
other than the red in his ledger. For like,
well, there's that, yes, in service to the United States.
Right. So after the party and after the press conference, the Watcher, who, by the way, makes an appearance, and I'll tell you the number of appearances he made this episode at the end. But the Watcher alerts us that due to the shift in Tony being saved, that there is no Iron Man and no arc reactor gets, created. And so the MCU Tony that we know and love from 2008 all the way up until is not existent in this timeline. So it kind of changes the dynamic of where Tony's genius goes. He also is no longer fighting for peace. He just continues to say, I've seen, all of these soldiers lose their lives. I've seen people use, my weapons for bad. And so now we have to make them bigger and badder, as opposed to being like, well, now we have to figure out ways to like keep people safe and not let people get these weapons fall into their hands. So it was an interesting change. Like Tony just kind of became more Tony as opposed to the Iron Man, And it was just, I guess it was just an interesting dynamic to see overall, because that means in this timeline, like, who knows what his arc is going to be, because his whole arc was, changing from being like this Tony that we have on the timeline to the MCU one. So, I mean, at least he's still an alcoholic. So,
well, his arc was changed. Arc reactor. His arc was changed. He's still the exact same Tony. The funny part is he's the exact same Tony Stark he would have been. What changed him in our original timeline was having to have the arc reactor built and put in his chest to keep him alive, and that was caused by his own weapons. Mm-hmm. And aside from seeing the people get killed, he is now. His life is now constantly in danger because of his own weapons. So that doesn't happen. So he just continues to be the Tony Stark that he was originally right up until that happened. So, but yeah, and I've always appreciated that they chose Robert Downey Jr. to play this. That was just genius, aside from the fact that he just looks like a great Tony Stark. Mm-hmm. It's that he had real life demons with alcohol. And so that gave him a point of reference to draw from. So he was a perfect Iron Man. He didn't have to, go out and study people who were alcoholics or, no, he was that. And I'm happy that he overcame that, but he was also able to draw from that to portray that character.
Yep.
Kid?
Yep. So after this, Tony and Killmonger start working together on his dissertation. Okay, sir, with your doctoral studies.
Yeah, that's some bullshit.
Yeah, it's a sore for me right now because I am currently working on my dissertation. So anyway.
Clutch the pearls.
Too many smart Black people out here. So Eric sells him this story on how the reason he didn't get to finish his project is because he didn't have the right materials. And Tony's like, oh, well, we have loads of them. Let's just go ahead and create these, killer bots, because we haven't seen Tony do that before.
Let's do it.
And, it's funny. One of the things I thought of was they almost kind of looked like the killer bots that Hammer made in Iron Man 2.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so, like Chappie.
Yeah. So once they create the soldiers, they hook them up with Jarvis, and they, are able to use the AI to take Killmonger's moves to kind of program into them. So that way they already have fighting techniques recorded and kind of know how to utilize that.
Thank the Lord we did get a little bit of Jarvis in this thing.
Yeah.
So.
Love Jarvis. So once they figure out that they need a power source, that's when the topic of vibranium comes up, and Killmonger throws him the ring.
But remember, he also, funny enough, while Stark is laying there, the first thing he thinks is, well, why don't we make a small arc reactor? Nah, that's crazy talk.
That's a dumb idea.
Yeah.
So they use the vibranium, and then they decide that they do need more in order to be able to power, the other ones that they hope to create. And that is when we get to take Rhodey, who looked surprisingly young in this, but I guess it was 2008 Rhodey. So he don't look like Don Cheadle right now, Rhodey.
And he bumped up that cul-de-sac on the dome. So,
Leave him alone.
I mean, I'm gonna find one to talk, right?
So they call in Rhodey, basically to kind of smooth over Pepper's saying no, to the idea of going to the one and only Ulysses Claw for more vibranium.
Now, interesting you bring that up, right? We all know that Rhodey was a by the book guy, and remember which side of the accord he was on.
Mm-hmm.
It is incredible that he so easily said, hey, I'm representing the United States military. Yes, let me go and buy something from the illegal arms dealer who has illegal stuff that he has stolen from the country of Wakanda. Let me go buy that. Yeah,
technically this was Terrence Howard's Rhodey, so like maybe they took some of that essence out of there as opposed to Don Cheadle's Rhodey. I don't know.
So what I see Don Cheadle said, when we see Claw, we're gonna whoop that trick. I don't remember.
Right, because it's Don Cheadle, but it was Terrence Howard's essence.
Yes.
So I think that's,
Don Cheadle still needed a microphone though.
No, so. He did.
Claw, you do what you do.
Yeah. So of course the deal goes bad, whatever.
It has. What else would it do?
Right. And Black Panther makes a guest appearance, and he starts fighting everybody, and Claw fucking disappears into the darkness, which is weird because he's white. I feel like only Black people really do that. But anyway.
He faded the fuck in the background.
Right. No, he did very quietly. And I actually thought he'd like escaped or something. So then Black Panther, takes everybody down and then attempts to, attempts to take back the vibranium that was stolen. And that's when Killmonger, who Rhodey was reaching out to for help to make sure, like, hey, have you seen this? And no answer. Killmonger comes out with some giant weapon that Tony created, that uses sound waves to affect the vibranium suit that he's wearing, similar to what we saw in the Black Panther movie, the electromagnetic waves that they use on the train to transport it, so that way it's not highly reactive.
But that was also the callback to Iron Man, the very thing that Obadiah used on him, because you saw the different discoloration coming out of his neck. And Obadiah had those earbuds in, so it didn't affect him.
Mm-hmm.
But and he changed it. He enhanced the weapon.
Right.
So it was even better when he used it. And yeah.
And then he killed Black Panther. And I made a joke while we were watching it yesterday, where Shuri was, when she was designing the new suit, where just like nanotech kind of covered his body. The original one, before she gave him the new suit, he had to take his helmet off. And one of the things that she said when she was like introducing the new suit was like, she was making jokes about, oh my God, people are shooting, let me put on my helmet. And it was just hilarious because it was like, okay, no, that's a good point. Like you had to like actively not get shot first and then put your protective gear on. So the fact that he had the old suit where he did take his helmet off and it was pieces was almost kind of like a callback to that, and like an unfortunate way because he died. But Killmonger steals his glove, steals all the vibranium, and then takes the same Black Panther claw glove and ends Rhodey. After telling him that no, getting into the system to change the system is not how you do it, you just got to burn it down. I 100% agree with Rhodey's standpoint. To some extent, yes, that is the case. There are a lot of situations where you do have to just get into the system to change it from the inside out and hopefully make it better. However, I can also see the civil disobedience in terms of like certain civil rights movements where they went against the grain. Not necessarily the violent acts per se, but like the marches, the sit-ins, where it went against the grain and civil disobedience was utilized to burn it down from the outside, as it were, and change it. So I feel like both of them were on opposite ends of that spectrum. And if we're looking at civil rights, it was almost kind of like Rhodey was like the Martin Luther King, whereas Killmonger was like Malcolm X. Don't come for me in the comments, y'all. Only in the sense of one was looking more at peaceful ways of changing the system, and the other one was like looking at more aggressive ways of changing the system. So I can see it from both sides of what they're talking about, but I know that in the end, like Rhodey's way is what really should have been done and not Killmonger's way. So anyway, he kills him and steals everything, and Claw comes back out of the darkness. Like I said, I thought he ran, comes back out of the darkness, and they basically get away. And the next scene, unfortunately, are the caskets for Rhodey and T'Challa.
Yeah, this was probably one of the two hardest scenes for me to look at in the movie, the show. To see both Rhodey's casket being carried by the military and to see T'Challa's casket being carried by the Dora Milaje. Where it struck home at is that, as I mentioned to you, kid, I was like, so they did the scene, right? They did the voiceover and the animation, and it was finished. It was great. And then later, he actually dies. And you think in this animated thing, we have a scene where he was killed and we see them carrying his body out. What must, I mean, and I don't necessarily think that, and I shouldn't say I don't think, I wonder if at any point was Marvel tempted to change that episode just a little bit. Like maybe to not showing him being taken out in the casket because he had died. And like when all that was going on, they knew, right, that they had this animated show they were coming out with in which he is killed and you see his casket being taken out. I mean, that's something that a lot of folks in Marvel had to live with, because all the people who were involved, they all knew, right? They'd all seen it's finished. They all knew what it was. That must have been really difficult and also interesting to have just been around to have seen the people behind the scenes.
Right.
The last thing we do with him, and one of the last things we do with him is his character gets killed. And I also wonder how is Coogler gonna address that in Black Panther 2? How are they gonna broach that subject? Because they can't go and they can't say, well, he's just out on a mission. He
Right.
is, but he ain't coming back. I wonder how they're gonna broach that.
Right.
So it was tough. It was good, but it was another thing where it was quiet when they were carrying the body. It was quiet, and the silence was deafening, and it was very powerful.
I think it was nice that they kept the scene in there, because I think it was kind of their way of honoring him as well, in some respect, like being able to see that as like, this is the last of, as it were.
Right.
But yeah, no, it was a very strong scene. So I appreciate
and we
that
still
from
have
her.
to wait to see until we get to the end of the series if the Black Panther shows up again.
Right. Or if Star-Lord T'Challa comes back in some form.
Right.
So Tony is aware, of course, via Jarvis, that Killmonger killed Rhodey.
Bastard.
Right.
Yeah, bastard.
And basically calls him out on it when Killmonger shows up. And he attempts to kill him via the super, murder bots that they create. But basically, like, Tony's ego gets the best of him, and like he just he gets killed. So here we are, Eric 3, good guys 0, basically.
Yeah, see, Tony did what so many people do in the movies and on television shows is, when you have the bad guy and you have dead to rights and you got to talk to him and let him know your pain and all that. Same thing for the bad guy. When he gets the good guy, he's got to explain his plan and tell him how he's going to do all this and that.
Right?
Yeah, I mean, and there's the one scene, as you brought up, where the bot has Killmonger by the head. Why didn't you just let it kill him?
Right.
And that would have been the end of that. But no, and Tony, he's got the drink in his hand. See, so his shit was impaired, like it always is. He had the drink in his hand. And he's talking shit while the fight's going on, not able to have enough foresight to think, this son of a bitch is going to get out of this thing and he's going to fuck me up. And Guess what happens? I don't know. What you think happened, kid? I don't know. Yeah. So it was terrible. The Killmonger had a swath of killing, man. I go, God damn. I'm thinking the Watcher should be looking around to make sure he ain't coming for him, because he was killing everybody, man.
All of the bodies. All of the bodies. Yeah. Pepper's suspicions continue to grow because conveniently Jarvis was wiped clean and there was no security footage of what happened. Happy doesn't understand how that happened, and he's not suspicious of Killmonger anyway. What I didn't appreciate is when Pepper challenges that, and then the general's like, you better watch who you're talking to. He's decorated. And I'm like, Pepper don't give a shit. She's not in the military.
Yep.
And this isn't the president. Like, she talk to him however the fuck she wants. Anyway.
Yep.
So basically, after they have all that and the military basically seizes Stark Industries, Eric leaves to go meet up with Claw and murders him. So Eric 4, everyone else 0. And
wait. The beautiful part of just before Claw gets killed is when Killmonger's in front of the vehicle. He's out there doing his thing, right? And then Claw says, hey, boy, come on, let's go. What they should have done was turn the camera and zoomed in on Killmonger's eyes when he said, hey, boy. Because I go, well, as soon as he said that, I go, yeah, you about to die. You about to die. As soon as he said, hey, boy, with that old South African thing, from Lethal Weapon, I said, oh, man, you about to get shot in the face. And sure enough.
Shot in the side of the face, yes. Whoops. So he brings Claw's body to Wakanda to gain entry and show hey, I brought the man who has caused so much strife to your people. And then when he gets there, he shows the inside of his lip and shows them that he's Ndajaka, and that
they need to find another just a fucking iPhone wallet thing instead of all this bending your lips down to show. So that in and of itself is a problem for our peoples. Nobody want to. They got to do something else.
I mean, so it actually stems from an African tradition where they do tattoo and do a lot of piercings. So maybe,
I'm just saying.
Maybe
I'm just saying.
But they don't have a Starbucks yet, and they haven't joined the Olympics, so we're not quite there yet.
Oh, right.
So once he proves that he's in, the one thing I said I missed was that he didn't like immediately say, "Hey, auntie." I was actually kind of hoping he would throw that line in there just because it was something that I think was entertaining for like all Black people, because I don't really know a Black person that calls, I mean, they probably exist. So again, don't come for me in the comments. But I don't know too many Black people who call their auntie like aunt or anything. Like, I just feel like it's always auntie. So there wasn't that line, so I was a little disappointed in that. But basically, he goes back and forth between the two cultures, America and Wakanda, and sets them up for thinking that the other wronged the other. So he sets up Americans to think, oh, this was a Wakandan hit that killed Tony because of the pointy stick.
And also remember, after he killed T'Challa, he put the weapon he used in Rhodey's hand.
Right. So it just kind of continued to be a back and forth thing. And the Americans want to wage war on Wakanda. He appears and says, well, they're coming, winter is coming. And basically suggests that they should let this horde of soldiers in. Shuri's like, fuck no. Who is this guy? Where did he come from? We don't know him.
Yeah.
And then, T'Chaka and everybody else was like, all right, Shuri, calm down. He's family. He got the lip tattoo. We're good. Shuri's like, what the? No, I don't. So she gets overruled because she's like 12. Yeah. Still a genius, but 12.
I love the markings. I love the face paint. I love that.
And so basically they go to war and he joins them. He just jumps on a rhino who like rolls with it and they charge. And Auntie had some good scenes, huh?
Yeah, I as I mentioned before, when we had the Black Panther was when T'Challa was Star-Lord, and we went back to Wakanda and we saw Auntie there, but she didn't have a speaking part. So needless to say, I was tickled when I saw the credits come up at the beginning and I saw Angela Bassett. So I go, yes. So I was sure of two things. I said, she's going to speak, and this is the episode where we see her like, fucking some people up, right. Sending people to a dirt nap. And she did not. I appreciated that the father who used to be the Black Panther, he gave that shit up and he don't fight anymore.
He 57.
So yeah, I know, right? So he says, well, General, and she looked like she was ready to go fuck some people up. And she had the armor on and she went to work. She was whooping ass like there's no tomorrow. She was beating people ass like they stole something from her. So it was great. I mean, you just know in real life, Courtney Vance don't give Angela Bassett no shit. Angela Bassett got arms like that. Okay, he don't. Courtney got arms about your size. He don't give Angela Bassett no shit, nothing. So, yeah. It was also it also brought about in that battle the second scene that I told you that was one of two that was really tough for me, that really got you in the feels, was to see Angela Bassett's character crying out for T'Challa, and you see the tears streaming down her face. Mm-hmm. And again, we come right back to, this is the episode that the people who were involved in it had to think about that. I mean, all this had happened, and then guess what? He really died. Right. And they were doing all this in the animation thing for his death. And it turns out he really dies, right? I mean, it's it's like making a movie about you getting killed, and then a year or two later you get killed, right? And you go, I can't believe it. And the movie's coming on TV, right? You go, son of a bitch, I can't believe it. Well, it was like that. And again, like I said, it gets you right in the feels. Yeah. It was powerful.
Yeah, no.
But you brought up a good point. he only there for like 20 minutes, and the rhino just letting him ride on.
Right. It was weird. We don't know you. But all right.
She
Maybe
should have been getting that horn.
The rhino just saw the lip tattoo and was
Yeah.
like, oh, all right. So basically, after all of that, and they conquered the soldiers and whatever, they made him the next Black Panther, and he crosses over into the land where the ancestors are. And
Oh yeah.
T'Challa is one of the Panthers sitting on the tree, and he jumps down and he asks him, was it worth it?
Much like Gamora asked Thanos.
Right, in the Soul Stone.
Yep.
So
what did it cost you? Everything.
So he asks him that, and he basically says, you know, what goes around comes around, because like, just because you did this, you didn't go about it the right way.
Right.
And, you know, here we are. So essentially that goes around, comes around, came around because Shuri ends up in Stark Industries' office. Don't nobody know how she got there.
Yeah, we don't even know how she got out of Wakanda and then got
12.
all the way there. She's 12. She's also a genius. Right. So she probably has a Wakanda. She probably had a plane stash somewhere. She probably been going out doing all kind of crazy shit, you know, strolling on the boulevard, all kind of, twerking and shit. Yeah.
So she shares footage of him killing Rhodey and Black Panther, and something that shows her proof that he killed Tony. And Pepper and Shuri basically closed the episode out by saying, let's work together to show, both of our sides who the real monster is, and that it's not each other. It's not our cultures, it's not our countries. It is this one dude who on each side, and I appreciate this, on each side, the woman was the one who had enough sense to see through it.
Damn warmongering men.
So, and that's basically how the scene ends, and then that's the show. And we don't get to see what happens after, of course, but we can only imagine that I'm sure there was a huge manhunt for Killmonger.
Oh yeah, I'm sure that between Shuri and Pepper, I'm sure the first things that they did was get a plan together on what to do, and then they got the word out. In fact, I'm sure as long as they got enough word out and got to talk to the right people, that Wakanda would have taken them down. I'm sure that they have something set up the same way they fucked with Bucky and his damn arm fell off. So I'm sure they have something in case the Black Panther start wilding and shit, that they could calm his ass down too. Like, so I don't know, some fucking catnip or some shit. So
as two cat owners, that's really what we came up with. Okay.
Yeah, that's so ball of yarn or some shit. I don't know. But yeah. So it was good, and it was just very good. So.
Yeah, it was a great episode. So in closing, Dad.
Well, what do you think, kid? Are we ready to give this? I'm ready to give it 2 big comic and other cons thumbs up, because it had everything. It had action. Mm-hmm. It had real drama. Mm-hmm. Things were for real, mm-hmm. because people were killed and they didn't just get back up. That was the end of them.
Right.
There was betrayal. There was loss. There was the gamut of emotions from happy.
Who was not
and there was laughing, crying, anger, jokes. Everything was in this episode, and it was very well done. And they used subject matter we were all familiar with and twisted it just the right way, where it as you mentioned earlier, like how was nobody seeing through any of this? But as I said, everybody was already, because think now, throughout the series, Okoye is making jokes related to America.
Right.
So they're always joking. They think that they're superior and this and that. They always make jokes about America. So again, that was like Wakanda's thing, that they were so strong in their own little world, essentially, because nobody else knew that they existed.
Right.
Remember when the force field opened up and they actually saw the world of Wakanda and realized that it wasn't just a dude with a donkey and some sheep and shit,
What?
Because it was like Smurfs when the shield went up and they could see the city of Wakanda. Everybody who was in like the war room was like, "Whoa, ooh," like that. So, yeah, but by the same token, the Americans, they had heard about the fable Wakanda. They obviously knew about Black Panther. They knew about all this stuff. They knew about vibranium because of the shield and Howard Stark, and they coveted those things. They wanted that, as the group of colonizers, that they wanted to, oh shit, there we go. You done did it. That they wanted that. And they didn't want to negotiate for it. They wanted to go and take it. But they didn't know where it was.
Colonizer.
They didn't know where it was. So it was just fascinating that so each side had their preconceived bags of shit.
Everybody was arrogant. Side. That's what it, everybody was arrogant.
And the advantage was even if we go back to Black Panther, the advantage was the Wakandans, because they were able to sneak out and infiltrate America and the world civilization, and nobody knew who they were.
Right.
But nobody could get into Wakanda. At some point, they will. I'll find out exactly how Claw got all that vibranium, because somebody ass got in Wakanda.
Right.
But yeah, so for the most part, other than Claw, nobody really knew anything about Wakanda. It was like Shangri-La or some shit like that.
Or Talo.
So yes, everybody's got something except the
white people.
Europeans, I don't know. But they take a bunch of shit, so there you go. That's gonna be in the comments, ain't it? So
yes, they're gonna go.
But yeah, no, it was really good, and they just keep hitting it out of the park, man. Mm-hmm. This is potential because of the nature. It was so well rounded. This is probably the best episode so far, because it ran the full gamut of everything, and it twisted things, not just like the gender twist for Captain Carter. It twisted things in a way, some Kaiser Soze shit that we didn't see coming. We didn't see this. I mean, who would have thought, hey, this guy's going to come up and kill all these people?
Right.
No. And then the Marvel, when your hand's laying down on the ground, that means you're dead. So, but yeah, and to show how much he really didn't give a fuck, he just took the glove off of him and started using the shit. So, but yeah, it was, I think this was the best one, the way that it was done overall. But the funny part is Killmonger had some of the best lines.
No, he did. Especially when he killed, right before he killed Tony.
Yes, he was spitting some lines, man.
But he had that in Black Panther movie as well. Like he made a lot of good points.
Yes.
He just was going about it wrong.
But it's not that the shit he said
we didn't agree with. We were just kind of like, we just don't agree with what you're doing, man. Like, just
right. He was well written in the Black Panther movie and in this animated show. Mm-hmm. And again, for the same motivation, ironically,
right?
Same motivation, So, and ultimately, his feelings of entitlement, which were not absolutely wrong, but they will both have been his undoing,
right?
In this show and as it was in the Black Panther. Those feelings of that entitlement, whether I have to kill everybody to get it or not, will ultimately have been his undoing in both.
Right.
So, but it was a very good show. Very good
It
show.
was. So, well, that's the episode. And for those of you who watch regularly, I'm sure you know by now that
Unintended. Watch regularly.
That we always have a little segment at the end on an Invicta watch. And today you get a special treat because normally it's just my dad that talks about watches because he has about 1,000 of them. Whereas I have like 5 or 6, maybe. But today you're going to get one from each of us. And so I came up with this idea last week and I was talking to my dad about it. And I said, well, football season starts this past weekend. And so I said, why don't we have it be where this week's episode, we present a watch for each of our teams. Before you guys say anything, mind your business. We're not changing teams. No, we're not rooting for the wrong team. You are. Mind your business. Dad?
All right. Well, what I have is the Invicta Subaqua Specialty Reserve 50 millimeter hydroplated graffiti style New York Football Giants. Look at that. 1,650 feet of water resistance. Look at that graffiti. That hydroplating. That's on there forever. Triple screw down crown. Yes. All hail the New York Giants. What you got, kid?
So I don't follow watches like that, and I don't care as much as he does. So I don't know what this is other than a watch.
You don't know what time it is.
So it is. This was one of the watches, actually the only NFL watch that they made in women's sizes. I don't know why they haven't made any of the other ones in women's sizes because women like football. Anyway. So this one is made with, so I didn't get metal bands. I got like what material is it?
Silicone.
The silicone bands. And so this is for Go Pack Go, the Green Bay Packers. If you leave any comments about Aaron Rodgers, we're gonna have problems. So this is
Shailene Woods ain't having no problem. Woo!
This is what it looks like. So this was it. This was one that I bought. I have another one that was a gift for me, but that one is a male watch. It's huge and I can't wear it because I have toddler wrists. So I leave it in the box and it's just like for show.
Wait, was that some black stuff?
What?
For show?
Oh my
God. I'm sorry. I'm reading the text somebody said, I thought you said for show. I was like, oh shit. What? I was like, that's not on any of the sheets for show.
None of our for show notes.
Oh man.
Yeah, so this one was one that I bought. And I actually bought it the same time that Dad, you bought not the one you showed, but a different New York Giants watch because they were like on sale at the same time. And so I got this one and you got that other one. I also think it was the same time that I bought the Cleveland Browns watch for my boyfriend because that's his team. Also my business. And
you were talking to me just then when you said that one.
Yeah.
My business. Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So the only thing that I wish, like I said, is that the one that my dad just showed you is that they sold it as a woman's size as well. I don't know why they didn't. Invicta.
Yeah, I'm disappointed. Yeah, I'm
Invicta,
disappointed.
If you're watching, do better.
Yeah, they should never. Once they finally made the first round of unisex sizes, as it were, two sizes, one the larger one, right, and then the 38, 40 for women. And mind you, men can wear that size as well, but they just make a traditionally bigger watch for men. that they should have just kept that going for every year in the NFL, because you are cutting out a large segment of NFL fans. You know?
Right. Men with small wrists and women.
And, you know, men who are in the doghouse who get themselves to watch, and then the old lady who, or their partner, whatever, who is also a fan of the same team or a team, there's no watch for them to get them. So
Rude.
we got a lot of lonely men and a lot of lonely women with short fingers. So you're not helping, Invicta.
Yeah. So Invicta, just, you know, do better. Just take the feedback into consideration, please. I would like to have another Green Bay Packers watch, one that I can wear, because right now I'm at 500 with these watches. I can wear this one, I can't wear the other one. So I would like to have a winning season, please, with this watch.
Well,
so that's it. Any comments, questions, concerns? Please hold your applause until the end. Leave any comments you have. We do
like and subscribe.
Right.
Please hit that notification bell.
Click that button somewhere in the vicinity at the bottom.
We want to hear that George and Wheezy moving on up soon when we get enough people subscribing, and you know, I'm bumping elbows with Jeff Bezos and all of them people, and yeah, I'm in the SpaceX
actually with
rocket ship.
Or what's his wife's name? Mackenzie?
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we're gonna hang out with her. We don't want to hang out with Jeff.
Yeah, she doing a lot of stuff with Black people. So you ready to take us out, kid?
Yeah. So thanks for coming. We'll see you at our next video. Our next video is going to be a little short tidbit on the Hawkeye trailer. And then our next What If episode will be next week. So again, that's my dad.
And that's my kid. And we are
Comic and Other Cons. We'll see you in our next video. Peace. Bye.